Hey, it's John. Welcome back to the show, and welcome back to the latest edition of the Live Cut. The premise of this series is to talk about live albums that don't get enough love or recognition. Let me introduce you to my distinguished guest. You no doubt know him from he and Sydney's channel on YouTube, Slogans Rock and Metal Extravaganza, as well as his appearance on a lot of great YouTube music channels. My friend Logan Collins, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me again, John. I'm really excited to talk about some Southern rock with you this time, man.
That's right.
Look, looking forward to it.
All right, as I'm am I. We are going to talk about Molly Hatchet today. We're going to talk about Double Trouble Live. This was
Oh,
released in November 1985 on Epic Records. This is the band's first live album. They have released several archival live albums since this release. This came out on Epic Records. This was produced by Pat Armstrong and Andy Deganal, and this was recorded in two cities. It was recorded in Jacksonville, Florida on January 25, 1985, Dallas, Texas on February 16, 1985. The members of Molly Hatchet who played on this album are the incomparable Danny Joe Brown on lead vocals, Dave Hubeck on lead guitar, slide guitar, and backing vocals, Dwayne Roland on lead and rhythm guitars, Bruce Crump on Ludwig drums, Riff West on bass and backing vocals, John Galvin on piano, synthesizer, and backing vocals. Sadly, all of the members who played on this album are no longer with us except for John Galvin. John Galvin is still with the band to this day. So, Logan, when did you first get familiar with Molly Hatchet's music?
okay. So pretty much, I grew up around a lot of Southern rock because my dad was a big Leonard Skinner guy.
Oh,
So from a young age, I knew who Molly Hatchet was off of "Flirting with Disaster." The main song, their big, huge hit they had, probably their biggest song for sure. And then as I got older, I started buying vinyl and figuring out the actual records and everything. And when I found these two albums, I
nice.
mean, they really, some of my favorite Southern rock, man, is these two records. I love
Mhm.
everything about them. Yeah, they're probably both 9, 10 out of tens for me. I just love everything about them. And yeah, I just kind of went from there. They kind of have their ups and downs in the catalog. A lot of lineup changes, a lot of members leaving, coming back. But yeah, I've just always been a huge fan of the original lineup, especially. And yeah, there's plenty of great songs mixed in between all of those records, I feel like. So, and yeah, I'm ready to get into this live album because I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. So, my entry to Molly Hatchet was Flirting with Disaster. They used to play it on pop radio here. They play it late night. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they played it before I was familiar with Rock 107 WEZX FM, Scranton, Pennsylvania, the home of rock and roll, but I did hear it on there a lot in the 80s and the 90s. They didn't play too many Molly Hatchet songs on there. They played Flirting with Disaster the most, but they'd
Hmm.
also play Beating the Odds once in a while. They'd play Whiskey Man. They'd play Gator Country a lot, and they'd play their cover of the Allman Brothers band Dreams, but they call it Dreams I'll Never See.
Hmm.
So those were the songs that we had here on Rock 107. I got to see them one time, and that was on October 27, 2017 at Penn's Peak. And I went with my buddy Jack, who was a lot older than me, and he taught me so much about music over the 5 years we hung out. It was crazy. Rest in peace, Jack. And the thing with Jack, I mentioned him because when we go to shows together, I'd be like, "Oh, this is so great," and he'd be like, "Ah, oh, you're a kid. You haven't seen them when they're great." Playing with the special guest that night was Black Oak, Arkansas,
Wow.
right? So He goes, well, after we saw Black Oak, Arkansas, he goes, what'd you think? And I said, they're good, but I'll bet you back in a day they're even better. He goes, I'll send you a YouTube video when you get home. And he was spot on. He Jim Dandy, the original singer, was still in Black Oak, Arkansas at this point, and he said, "I said, oh my God, he's like David Lee Roth." He goes, "Yeah, he was David Lee Roth before David Lee Roth."
Yep.
And they were wickedly tight. Actually, I take it back. Their guitar player that night was also one of the original members of Black.
Wow. Cool.
So then Molly Hatchet comes on. And a lot of times Jack would be, like I said, like most of the time he'd be like, they used to be better and all this shit, right? So they come on and they just kill us with Whiskey Man and they go right into Bounty Hunter. I go, they sound pretty good. He goes, they sound great. What are you talking about? So they kicked our asses that night and it was a great show. And Phil McCormick was the lead vocalist at that point. And he sounds just like Danny Joe Brown.
Yeah.
And sounded because he passed away a couple of years after, but Bobby Ingram was leading the band as he does today. And John Galvin was in the band at that point. I mean, they just kicked ass. So that was a fantastic show. And I mean, I went in, I figured they'd be good, but they like they blew me away. And Jack was really impressed. So we're going to talk about this album, but before we do, I did buy Flirt with Disaster on cassette back in the day. This is a kick-ass album. I think the first two albums smoke.
Yep.
Yeah, and I don't know the later catalog like Justice and the couple albums that came out after that. I heard they're pretty good. I know Martin Popoff likes latter day Molly Hatchet, but
Yeah.
first two wicked albums,
Yeah. I mean, those are touchstones of Southern rock, the first two albums. And I could put Beating the Odds right there with them, really. I love Beating the Odds too. I mean, different vocalists. Rest in peace to Jimmy Farrar too. But yeah, I mean, he was awesome too, man. Just
Oh
a
yeah,
lot of great music.
absolutely. So we're going to talk about Double Trouble Live, what we love about this album, what we may not be so crazy about. So, Logan, what are the highlights of this album for you?
Well, I hate to be that guy because I know the last time I was on here with you guys, I took up a whole side, but side one of this record, man, I mean, it just kicks ass. Kind of like you were saying, they must have kept that kind of formula alive because you said they played Whiskey Man and the Bounty Hunter, and it's the same way on this record. Um, I mean, just all first four songs on this album, some of Molly Hatch's best tunes, all in a row. I mean, Whiskey Man and a Bounty Hunter in the Gator Country, and then into Flirting with Disaster. I mean, it's just that could be like if they didn't put out a double album and this was just like a live EP, that would be like the perfect live EP ever. Um, love everything about it. I mean, there's energy throughout all them tracks. The soloing's awesome because like some of these songs they really extend. And something to note, this is like I think The Deed Is Done is the first studio record with just two guitar players.
Yes.
Because they usually had triple guitar attack. Usually they had what was his name? Steve Holland
Mm-hmm.
on the earlier records, but he's gone by the time these records came out. But they really don't miss a beat, I don't think. Dave and Dwayne really hold down the fort music wise. But yeah, all four of them songs, man, are just great high energy Southern rock. Any one of them tunes. If somebody doesn't know who Molly Hatchet are, that's the direction I would push them to check out any four of them songs, man. But yeah, I just love side one. So
It's funny, like the way they recorded the CD, you could tell what was the end of the vinyl because you'd
hmm
have to fade out at the end of
yeah,
what
yeah.
songs would do it.
hmm
This was a 2 record set when it originally came out. I think the first record smokes. I think I love it right through Boogie No More. I think it's fantastic.
hmm
Stone in Your Heart and Satisfied Man were from The Deed Is Done, and they were getting more AOR album oriented rock. Stone in
Yeah.
Your Heart's been going through my head all week.
Yeah, it's catchy tune, man.
It's so catchy and is a
Yep.
great song. It doesn't sound like Molly Hatchet, but it's awesome. And Satisfied Man, Sounds a little more like Molly Hatchet, but it does sound more AOR, but it still
Yeah.
kicks ass. And at that point, like a lot of other bands, like Hearts, like Kiss, and then a little bit later, like Cheap Trick and Aerosmith, they were bringing in outside songwriters. And it was
Yep.
outside songwriters that wrote Stone Your Heart and Satisfied Man. But you know what? I don't care. The songs are great.
Yeah, if the songs are there, right? I mean, that's what matters, man.
Absolutely.
Because like I know we could mention there's a lot of southern rock bands around this time that were flirting with a lot of electronic drums, and a lot of people are jumping on the ZZ Top bandwagon, really,
That's
but
true. That's true.
but I think it works, for a couple of these tunes. Like I don't think The Deed is Done overall is like their best album ever,
Right.
but like the songs they picked for this live album, those are probably some of the standouts on that record, I feel like. So
Absolutely. You were mentioning it, they stuck to the formula live. The first three songs here live are how that's how they did them when I saw them. They started Whiskey Man right into Bounty Hunter right into Gator Country. I forgot I knew all the lyrics of these songs until I saw them live and I'm singing along with them. And I was like, wow, holy shit, these songs really stuck with me.
yeah.
But I think the whole first record destroys. I love Bloody Reunion.
Bloody Reunion's awesome, and it's cool hearing Danny Joe Brown sing that, right? Because
Mhm.
Jimmy Farrar sung it on the record. So
Exactly. Very
yeah,
driving track. And Boogie No More, they stretch out and they have that long jam at the end of
yeah.
last side of first side of the last song on the first side of Flirting with Disaster. But here they really, really stretch it out. And
Oh man, yeah, it's awesome.
wicked. The dual guitars on here, magnificent.
I agree, man. Yeah, Boogie No More is one of my favorite Molly Hatchet tunes, and yeah, it's great. This might be the version, you know. Like I love the studio version, but this one is even better to me, almost.
Absolutely. And they did this, they did that song live too.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Now, the second record, now I love Freebird. I think they did a magnificent job with Freebird.
Yeah,
And it was a tribute. At this time, Leonard Skinner wasn't together. They didn't go back and
exactly. Yep.
start touring
Yep.
again until 86.
Yep.
And Leonard Skinner were from Florida.
Hmm.
And, so they were big influences on Molly Hatchet. So it's like a tribute, but it's an 11-minute version. It's absolutely wonderful. The
Hmm.
piano on this is gorgeous.
Yeah, that's great playing. Yeah.
It is. But a part of me wishes they did some more of their own, as much as I love it. Because then they go right into Dreams I'll Never See, which Greg Allman wrote for the Allman Brothers Band, but they made the song their own. And if someone were to say they like the Molly Hatchet version more than the Allman Brothers Band, I wouldn't have an issue with it at all because I thought they did a very good job with it. I'm a bigger Allman Brothers Band fan. I'm always going to like their version more.
Right. Yeah.
But they did an excellent job with this.
Yeah.
And it's one that you heard heavy on the radio back in the day, and they played that near the end of the set when I saw them.
Yeah, I really like their cover of Freebird, man. I think it's awesome. And like you were saying, I was gonna bring this up too. Like it's weird listening to this in 2026 versus when it came out because you got to think of the context. Like you were saying, there wasn't a Leonard Skinner when this album came out. So when you listen to it like that, it makes sense why they did it. But I
True.
see what you mean. I feel, because they could have added some more tunes. I feel like No Guts, No Glory is a pretty solid record. I feel like they could have added a couple tunes off that myself, instead of actually to me, the two songs on side three that are with Freebird, which are new songs. And I don't know, John, the way I heard it when I was listening to it, they sound like studio tracks, but they have like live audio audience mixed in. So I can't tell if they're live or not. To me, they sound like they're studio tracks to me, but I don't know.
Okay, so the songs we're talking about that aren't on the CD, they only came out on the vinyl. And by the way, if you go on Spotify, they're not on Spotify.
No, because they're
Right?
using the CD version, right? Yeah.
They're using the CD version. But if you go on YouTube, there is a channel that has the full vinyl version
Yep.
because
Hmm.
that's where I was checking this out. they're both songs that were not written by the band. Now, Walk on the Side of the Angels, I think that works here. That doesn't sound studio to me. That
Okay, so yeah,
sounds
maybe it's
like it
live. Yeah,
fits in.
yeah,
Now, Walk with You is a different story.
yeah. Walk with You. I wanted to me that sounds like the end credit song on Eddie and the Cruisers or
Yeah,
something. It totally doesn't sound like Molly Hatchet. It sounds like they're doing like a Bruce Springsteen song or
it is,
something.
especially when that sax kicks in.
Yeah, I know, right? I was
It
like, what
sounds
the
too
heck?
perfect. And then when you look at the credits on here, I don't believe I see a sax player on here.
Yeah, see on Wiki they credit it to Keith Holmes, whoever that is. I
Okay.
don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I just them two tracks didn't seem like because like you hear live audience like at the start of the tracks, and I feel like they just fade off a little bit. But you know,
Yeah.
maybe they did play Walk on the Side of Angels. And to me, that of the two, that's the better track for sure.
Oh yeah,
In my
easily. Like
opinion.
that, I think fits in. Walk with You. I mean, yeah, this is too pop. I don't.
Yeah, it
Yeah, I
doesn't.
don't mind AOR with my Molly Hatchet, but I don't want pop with my Molly Hatchet. Like I
Yeah,
don't
that's a
want pop with my Blackfoot. You know.
well, yeah, because like Satisfied Man and Stone in Your Heart, they still have that rock edge to them. You know, there's not really Walk with You is just kind of straight pop. It's very strange, you know. But I get it. I mean, it was 85, you know. They were probably trying something and seeing if it worked, you know.
Right.
So,
And that was the thing. I mean, their star had fallen a little bit after those first three albums, which went platinum.
yeah.
So, they're changing with the times. They're trying some different things. The versions of the songs that were originally on Adidas Done sound a lot heavier here too.
Yeah.
I think they're
Yeah, I'd say so too. Yep. Um, but
wicked
yeah,
loud.
you want to get into some aside four? Like you
Sure.
were saying, well, you were talking about Dreams, their cover of Dreams. I thought, that's a must have, right? If they're gonna do a live album. I mean, that's always been a staple, and like you were saying, they probably wait until towards the back half of the set, probably to always play that song. And yeah, it's tough, man. Comparing, it's hard to pick. I know you're probably the bigger Allman Brothers guy, so maybe I would prefer the Molly Hatchet one, but I grew up on that one more. So I just love how heavy it is. It's kind of darker and but I just always love that song either way, no matter who's singing it. It's just, always positive and believe in yourself type lyric, and I love stuff like that. So that's
Right.
one of my favorites, Either whoever's doing it.
Exactly.
And yeah, that goes into the Edge of Sundown, which actually wasn't a song I knew much about when we were deciding to do this, because I never listened to Danny Joe Brown's solo album. He had a solo album in '81 between um, his first tenure in Molly Hatchet and when he came back. It's just called the Danny Joe Brown Band, which actually it's pretty solid. I listened to it earlier last week. The version of Edge of Sundown on the studio album is a little longer,
Okay.
and this is kind of where I kind of have an issue with some of this because
Okay.
I feel like we have Freebird, right, and then we have Edge of Sundown, and then we have Fall of the Peacemakers right after it. All of them songs have like the slow build up ballad kind of part, and then they go into the heavy, soloing section. It's just a little too much of that kind of thing to me. But I wouldn't take Freebird off, and I definitely wouldn't take Fall of the Peacemakers off. So to me, I think they could have axed Edge of Sundown, but it's not a bad song. I mean, I really like it. It's probably the highlight of that Danny Joe Brown band album. But
Okay.
yeah, it's just kind of weird here, to me. But
Well, the thing was with Jenny Joe Brown band, they were playing Freebird, and maybe there
yeah,
was some kind of agreement that when
I yeah, it makes sense. When he came back, he's like, "You guys got to do a couple songs from yeah,
I could see that because as good a singer as Jimmy Farrar was, Danny Joe Brown had charisma out the wazoo.
oh yeah,
He was a wonderful frontman.
hmm
So I think he would have had some leverage there. And plus, he was on their two most famous records. So,
right, yeah,
they probably reached some kind of compromise.
hmm
You're mentioning those songs being slow and then getting harder at the end. Yes, the sequencing. The
Yeah.
sequencing what is what I there's very little that I don't like about this album, but the one big thing would be the sequencing.
Yeah, 100%. And even kind of like you were saying, like we were talking about side one, they played the first three songs in a row, right? When you seen them live, they didn't play "Flirting with Disaster" as the fourth song, I assume.
Well, they
You
didn't,
know,
and the thing was, if you go on Setlist FM and you see some of the dates that are out there for this tour, and there's not too many set lists for this tour, they were
uh,
playing Flirting with Disaster near the end of the night.
yeah, that would make sense, right? I mean, because
Right.
this is weird. Like, why would it's like Kiss playing Black Diamond like second in the set?
Right,
You know,
exactly.
yeah, they wouldn't do that. Um,
Yeah, that's how I feel. Like for me, I mean, I'm glad we talked about that because my thing is I love Fall of Peacemakers, but what I would have done is I would have flip flopped that with Flirting with Disaster in the set. I'm
yeah,
cool with having three bangers right in a row and then going to Fall of Peacemakers, which
I think I think that will work. Yeah, 100%.
yeah, oh, and they did that live too when I saw them.
Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah, it kicked
yeah,
it.
that's a staple, man. That's probably the best song on No Guts, No Glory.
I would agree with
Like,
you on that. Definitely. Like
yeah, I mean, all they really I think they picked the best songs from those records. The two that really aren't very well known from the early period, because what was the other one? Bloody Reunion. I can't remember
yeah,
what that.
play
Take
reunion
No Prisoners.
and take no
It's on Take
prisoners.
No Prisoners. That's probably the best song on that record.
Yes.
And Fall of the Peacemakers is the best song on No Guts, No Glory. So they really fit in both songs well. I feel like, but
I agree. I agree with that. I mean, there isn't much I mean, I was talking about Freebird that,
hmm
okay, wonderful version, but it's followed by a cover of an Allman Brothers song that they made their own. I'm thinking, what would I put in there, right?
hmm
And then I'm thinking, well, when I went to see them, they played The Creeper
oh man,
and they played Juke and City.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm like, yep, that's where I put in.
One I always really loved on Flirting with Disaster, John, is Gunsmoke.
Gunsmoke, great one too.
how often they played that song, but I think that'd be cool in a live setting.
I think they played like 6 tracks from that album that night.
Oh, that's classic, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
it was
can't beat it.
insane. Yeah, like more than half the show was the first 2 albums.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I
they
mean,
didn't.
that's just a testament to how big these records, they're how important they are to people. I mean, they came out what, 78 and 79. So,
Yep.
it's been a long time and they just still dig from those two records quite a bit in the live set. I think that's awesome.
The thing about these songs on here, it's just they don't really change them up too much.
No.
They just have more fire than you had on the studio version. The studio versions of most of these songs are great.
Yeah.
These just rock harder and
Yeah.
they're louder. That's
Yep.
another thing that comes up for me is sometimes the band is so spirited and so loud that you got to strain a little bit to hear Danny Joe.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They're a little too loud in the mix or something, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like sometimes Danny Joe's getting buried by those twin guitars. Imagine if it was the triple guitar attack.
Yeah. Right.
What's really cool here, I'm going to go back to Flirting with Disaster, a song that I adore. And to me,
Yeah.
it's one of the best Southern rock songs, period.
Yeah.
That was a 3 guitar song.
hmm
Here it's a 2 guitar song, but you have John's piano in there, and I think it makes it just as good.
Yeah. It's like another added element.
I love it. I love his piano playing throughout this album. How I notice it's during the unison solo, like near the unison part of solo near the end before they go back into the last pre-chorus.
hmm
I'm listening for the third guitar and I don't hear it, but it still sounds cool.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah. It
piano
makes it
is
different from
amazing.
the studio record, right? It's pretty cool to hear something different like that.
Yeah, exactly. But most of the time, they play it straight. I mean, Freebird is note for note the same thing. The only thing is Riff West is a little busier with his bass lines. Riff West bass playing on here is excellent. There's some songs on here like Stone in Your Heart, you can really hear him up in a
He
mix.
leads that song, right? I mean, that's how it starts, drums and bass, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, so I like the way the I like the recording of the instruments. I would like to hear a little louder Danny Joe Brown, but sonically this sounds great to me.
Yeah, I'd agree, man.
Yeah, there's the only thing I'd like to hear a little more Danny Joe Brown, and I think the sequencing's a little weird. They
Yep.
end the show with Beating the Odds. Now, Beating the Odds is a cool tune.
Yep.
It sounds, it doesn't sound like a closer here
Yeah,
because a lot
no.
of these songs, when they end them really big.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
here
this
it's
one
just,
just
they
kind of
just rip
ends,
it
right?
out.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, like it doesn't like Flirting with Disaster sounds like something you can do a good jam with that at the end, or
Yep.
Dreams I'll Never See you could do, or Boogie No More. Here it just rips like the studio version, and then that's it. And you're like, oh, okay. After this kick-ass show, they just ripped that out, and that was it. It was almost like, okay, you got 3 minutes till curfew.
Yeah. Yeah, they'd had to bust out the encore really fast.
Mhm.
But yeah, I agree with you. I think beating the odds is kind of in an odd spot too. But
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you're right. A lot of these songs, the sequencing is just kind of strange, the way they got them, listed here.
yeah. I mean, but outside of that, this is a ripping album.
Yeah, there's nothing to really complain about, really. I mean,
And what's funny when you look at the pictures of the band, and this is something I thought of a few hours ago, and I'm going way off track on this. You see the guys in the band, and they all look like Southern rockers, you know. They look like bikers. They look like guys you wouldn't want to mess with. Okay.
yep.
And then you see Bruce Crump, wicked drummer. And he reminds me, I mean, rest in peace, Bruce Crump, but he resembles Steve Deluxe from Rock and Metal Invasion. Doesn't he look a
He
lot
is a
like
little
him?
like a little scrawny guy, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
just, shorter hair,
Mhm.
handsome dude, kind of lanky.
Yep.
Looking at him, I'm like, hey, it's Rock Metal Invasion. My name is Steve. Come on the show tonight. Vinny Vincent blocked me on Twitter. I mean, that's what.
But yeah, yeah, he's the outlier, and because all these other guys look like badass bikers, like you were saying.
Mhm.
And there's a little scrawny Steve, but man, he could beat the hell out of them drums. I'm thinking, especially in my head right now, the last little bit of Boogie No More when he's doing them accents on the crash cymbal. Oh man, I love that part.
Oh yeah. He actually is in shape, man. I mean, he's in shape, but he doesn't look like any of the other. I mean, he looks thinner. Like the other guys just look like burlier, I would say.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
yeah, he's a heck of a drummer. It's a great job throughout this album here. So, Logan, how would you rank this album on a scale of
Um,
1 to 10?
well, it's kind of tough, really. Probably, I think it warrants probably about an 8 myself, because I like the majority of it. Just kind of the two new songs, are kind of whatever to me. But really, I mean, outside of that, and maybe you could maybe dock some points for the sequencing, the way it's listed out. I mean, there's not much I could complain about. I mean, it's kick-ass Southern rock, right? I mean, it's hard to beat, man. But
Exactly.
yeah, I think I'm safe giving it an 8.
Okay. I'll ask you this. Say you're going by the CD version and it doesn't have Walk on the Side of the Angels and Walk With You on it. Then how would you rate it?
I know it'll probably go up to a 9, I'd say, or getting close to like 9.5 territory for me, because I really, really love this record, man. So, because yeah, you don't really need those songs to me. I mean, I don't really, a lot of bands, I mean, I know John, because you've been doing this series. A lot of bands back in the day would do stuff like this, throw a studio track on, do a live album or a new live song, and sometimes it works, sometimes it don't, and yeah, I feel like the CD version is really the best way to go about listening to this, to be honest with you. And there might be a reason why the bands maybe went that route too. I mean, I don't know. But
Well, they
you know,
wanted to put the whole show, they wanted to put it all on one CD and you had to take stuff out
yeah,
in
yeah,
order
because
to,
I think it runs 81 minutes. I
it's
think, like
81.
with everything. Yeah,
Right.
so it's like this little bit of a difference, you know. But yeah, yeah, I think I'd give it a 9 if it was probably the CD version, which I think that's the way to listen to it myself. So
All right. You're reading my brain. I think they took the right two songs out.
yeah,
Although I like Walk on the Side of the Angels a lot. I don't think Walk With You fits and it sounds studio.
yeah, I'm the same way with you, man. I really like Walk with the Side of the Angels, but
Yeah.
yeah, overall, it just didn't really need to be there to me.
Right. I think all the other songs kick ass and take names. I
Yep.
it's the sequencing for me. I would
Hmm.
flip a couple of these around, like I'd have beaten the odds probably a little earlier. Maybe I'd end it with Dreams I'll Never See, and I'd flip flop Fall the Peacemakers with Flirting with Disaster. I think you want to end it strong. It seems
Well,
like
and you're spacing out the cover songs too if you do it like that, right, John? So
that's true too.
yeah.
That's true too. That, and I just like to hear a little more of Danny Joe in the mix. Sometimes he
Hmm.
sounds good in the mix, and sometimes it sounds like he's getting buried in a mix.
Hmm.
Having said all that, this is a 9 album to me. This album kicks ass. I
Yeah,
love
it's
it.
great. Yep.
This is an awesome album.
I think it's a great culmination of the last 6 albums they put out, right? 6 or 7, something like that, that they released. Yep.
So, and we got something from every album.
Yeah, that's the important thing, right? That's cool
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't have to do that. I mean,
They didn't. I mean, how many bands do we know of that skip over a few albums in a row on their live albums?
especially what like in this instance where he does it on 2 of the albums, right? He doesn't sing on them. Jimmy Ferrara is, so he could have been like a prima donna and been like, "Well, I'm not going to sing that stuff," you
Yeah,
know?
it could have been like Judas Priest now with Rob Halford. I mean, he doesn't sing any of the Rip Rowan songs, for example, but Bruce
Right.
Dickinson will sing Blaze Bailey songs.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think he's doing it now because I think their next tour they're only going to go from the first album to Fear in the Dark. But in the past,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Bruce would sing. He would sing some Blaze songs. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Well, here's something I want to ask you, John, before we get done, because this is the last record they did for Epic.
yes,
So I'm just wondering in my head, if do you think this was more of a contractual obligation record, like they just
possibly.
kind of did it to get it out there and be done? Because this is the start of the drought too of Molly Hatchet albums. Because after this one, there's another record till '89. So I mean, I don't know if that's got something to do with it, or because I mean, if it is, that's pretty kick ass for a contractual obligation. I mean, it's a pretty good
And
record.
maybe that's
Usually those are like half-assed.
That's true. And maybe that's the issue with the sequencing. Maybe it's just, oh, we'll just put these songs together and just put it out.
Yeah, maybe they just
Maybe
didn't
that's
care
the
anymore, you
issue
know?
because it was a contractual
Mhm.
obligation. Because, like you said, they did, I think Lightning Strikes Twice was the next album, and that wasn't until 89.
Yep. Hmm.
And by this point, when they put this album out, Southern Rock was going a little more in a AOR direction. 38 Special were really big at this point. And they started
Yep.
Southern Rock, but they were more of an AOR band.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yes. And not a knock on
Yep.
30 Special. I think they've had a lot of great.
Oh,
They're still out there today
yep.
with Jerry
Great
Wills
band, man.
lead guitar
Yep.
and Don Barnes and that golden voice. So we have discussed Molly Hatchet, Double Trouble Live. Thank you so much for joining us. What do you think of Molly Hatchet's music? And what do you think of this kick-ass live album? What are your favorite tracks on the album? What are your favorite tracks in the Molly Hatchet catalog? What do you think of the sequencing on here? What are your favorite albums by Molly Hatchet? Have you seen them live? Did you see them live when Danny Joe Brown or Jimmy Farrar or Phil McCormick were in the lead vocal spot? Please let us know in the comments what you think of Molly Hatchet, Double Trouble Live. Logan, Thank you so much for recommending this album and for joining me today and talk about another live album that doesn't get enough love or recognition. Double Trouble Live by Molly Hatchet.
Thanks for having me on again, John. It's a lot of fun, man. I really wanted to talk about this one because, like you said, I mean, by the time '85 came around, I mean, a lot of these bands were dying off, unfortunately. And at
Yeah,
least Hatchet got this last kind of hurrah, I feel like, because after this is kind of when stuff starts to change big time for them. So, yeah.
exactly. So, what do you have coming up on Slogans Rock and Metal Extravaganza?
Well, me and Sydney have been going through the Michael Schenker, his whole catalog of music with Scorpions and UFO, and I got some MSG over here. We've
There
been
you
talking
go.
about some of those albums. The next one we're doing, I think, is in a couple weeks. We're going to be talking about I think it's 1991. He had a super group kind of thing called
Contraband.
Contraband.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep, with members of Rat and Vixen and Shark Island, I think. So looking forward to hearing that. That'll be a first time listen for me. So we'll
Nice.
see how I feel about that. But yeah. And we're starting a series about our favorite three albums from every year. We've only done one so far, 1968, but we're getting ready to do 1969. So I'm racking my brain trying to figure out what three albums I'm picking for the great year of 1969 because it's not easy to pick only three. So
That's very, very true. Oh gosh, I can rack my brain, come up with a few dozen off the top of my head, but yeah.
and I think John, you're going to be on some of them years eventually, I believe. So,
Am I?
oh, I don't know. I thought you were. Maybe we'll talk in the future. We'll
I
get it
guess
we'll
we'll
get it
have
figured
to.
out.
What do you think of my birth year? Do you know what year I was born?
If I did,
71.
I maybe I should be the one.
Perhaps that will be it. All right.
That's how Music Nut alumni Web Van Devere. That's
That-
how he's doing it because he was born in 1969. So,
oh,
and he's going
that's
to be on the show for 1969. So,
well, there you go. That works. All right. 71. Oh, Little Feet, Allman Brothers. Oh, that'll be easy. All right. All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. Do what you love. We'll talk to you soon.